underweight and obesity among the children. Nutrients intake among the school children in rural areas, health benefits of millets, comparative chart of nutrients value of millets as well as with wheat and rice, and what are the messages we can carry from this. If you look at globally, millions of population are affected by undernutrition as well as the malnutrition. And that actually impacting a lot of population in this country. There are many countries in the world facing the challenge of undernutrition as well as overnutrition. In India, we are facing the triple burden of malnutrition. One is undernutrition, another is overnutrition, and also the micronutrients malnutrition, which is, we call it a hidden hunger. That is also a big challenge as a country we are facing. That's why we require diversified, a very comprehensive food system to tackle the problem of malnutrition in the country. If you look at the prevalence of anemia, unfortunately last 4 years, it has gone up substantially in many states. Take an example of Assam. Can you believe that 32% of anemia has increased in this state? Similarly, is the case of Mizoram, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Telangana, Bihar. Overall in the country, we have seen 9% increase of anemia since 2000, NFHS 4 to NFHS 5 in 2020-21. Similarly, the case of underweight children in the country. Again, the percentage of underweight children in the country has gone up in many states. There are 14 to 15 states. Underweight children numbers have increased. Overall in the country, even though there is a little decline of undernutrition in the children from 35 to 32%, but it is very minimal, I would say. But taken case in the case of obesity in this country in the children, which is also growing rapidly, and take an example of the last NFHS 4 and NFHS 5, it has also increased almost little less than twofold. That's why these micronutrients are very important for body function. Micronutrients refers to vitamins and minerals. You cannot make in the body. You have to take it as part of your diet, or you take it as a supplements. Micronutrients malnutrition is a hidden hunger, and that's how the India is facing a big challenge to address this issue. There are certain nutrients. I think it's not visible here actually. There are certain nutrients which are like proteins, carbohydrates, omega-6, omega-3, we need saturated fats, also complex carbohydrates. These are all required for bodybuilding. Take an example of we do not have any standard set for the complex carbohydrates, especially for the diabetic patients. We normally know energy level we can take at least 55 to 60% from the carbohydrates. These micronutrients require special attention because these are the nutrients normally we find deficit in our food, and also it has a grave health and economic consequences. And there are strategies like food fortification, there are strategies like biofortification. Now we are talking about millets. We are talking about food to food fortification through which we can address these issues of deficiency of macronutrients in the country. If you look at, this is a little old study by NIN, but look at the level of deficiencies in the country. Across different states, we have seen almost 50% of the children in this country, almost they are deficit in 50% of the nutrients. Except protein, if you can see, our children are deficit in calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin, and also in folic acid. If you really compare millets with other cereals like wheat and flour, millet really, all the millets has got very high nutrient contents like iron, calcium, zinc, folic acid, particularly about pearl millet, bajra, finger millet, fox millet, and amaranth seed. And we have a lot of health benefits from the millets if you regularly consume the millets. There are a lot of health issues we can directly address through millet, like if you regularly consume, like it can address the problem of heart disease, certain type of heart disease, respiratory issues. It can reduce the blood pressure It can reduce the type 2 diabetic, which is very important for us. It can also reduce the bad cholesterol in the body. We all know millet contains high fiber. We all know millet is gluten free. It actually reduces, slowly reduces your sugar in the body. That's why your diabetic conditions shoot up so quickly. And also millet has a lot of phytochemicals, it has a lot of antioxidants, actually, which helps you to keep your body healthy. Look at a lot of millet contains a lot of dietary fibers comparing to wheat and rice. A lot of millets take an example of palm millet, which has maximum dietary fiber, following finger millet and sorghum millet. And these are comparative charts of various nutrients which are available in millets. And someone is telling today also, India has become a diabetic hub. We have so many people are actually affected by diabetics today. And if you consume millets for at least 3 to 4 months, it will help you to reduce your fasting glucose level by 12%, and also it might reduce your post-meal glucose level by 15%. And also it might reduce the blood glucose bound to hemoglobin by 17%. And if you really look at the GI, the glycemic index of millet, if you take the mean of glycemic index, which is about 52, which is almost 36% lower than the wheat and rice. And if you compare with the maize, it is about 14 to 70%, 37% lower than maize. So I have actually found out a couple of research studies, and probably this is one of the largest studies carried out across the world. There are 80 studies, meta-analysis which we have conducted, and we have seen the level of glycemic index, particularly in foxtail and barnyard millet, which is less than 55%. And if you compare it with cornflakes, which is very high glycemic index, if you take the example of oatmeal, obviously it is very low. But if you take the example of rice, which is quite high. Traditionally, we have been using various processing methods to consume millets. But during the milling process, you will lose a lot of those nutrients, particularly about the protein level, the minerals, vitamins, fat, we lose it. In germination as well as in fermentation, certain nutrients goes up actually. And also in the roasting extrusion method, we lose a lot of those nutrients from the millet. So the biggest challenge in the country today is like in one side, continuously we could see the production is declining. On the other side, we have policies we are supporting to grow more wheat and rice. And also we have a lot of challenges actually in the supply chain. We won't find quite a good number of the millet processing units, particularly in different states, and all in the small capacity. Take an example of wheat. If you go to any district in the country today, you'll see quite a big number of wheat processing industry, probably ranging from 100 MT to 300 MT. Take an example of rice. You have big processing industries in the country, but in the case of rice, you won't find any big processing industry involved in millet processing. So we all know millet is good for health. It contains high zinc, it contains high iron. Millet has got low glycemic index. Actually, it prevents your diabetic. Calcium is 3 times higher than in milk. So we know millet has very high protein. It has got very high dietary fiber. So we should promote millet in the country. And my last slide, it is a climate resilient crop. You do not need too much of inputs like fertilizers and pesticides to grow millet.